Good.
A couple questions. You know, the comment by a member of the police department that they can't comment on an ongoing investigation is pretty standard during a criminal investigation. And so my first question is there a criminal investigation occurring right now?
The purpose of an investigation such as this would be to determine if there is a crime involved. So the answer really is it's too early to tell.
Okay. I've gotten sort of mixed information about whether or not the subject, the deceased, was under arrest or under detention under Welfare Institution Code 5150. That information should have been, I guess we should have figured that one out by now.
Well,
Do we have an answer to that?
I think you're implying there's something we haven't figured out. The investigation is focused on the cause of death, and the element of that is whether or not a crime was committed or a policy was violated, and I don't have any information to share. That investigation is ongoing.
Okay, and I know when there are officer-involved shootings that take place, the agency or the department will contact an outside agency to conduct an investigation, like the sheriff's department, for example.
Situation dependent.
Sure.
So
it's been done before, fairly quickly. There was a shooting by an officer in early 2011 in Castro Valley, where the sheriff's department was contacted, I think within 24 hours to conduct an outside investigation.
because it occurred in their jurisdiction.
Let me just finish this then. That the sheriff's department was contacted very quickly to conduct an investigation into the officer, and the officer was interviewed that night with his representatives present as to his conduct. So perhaps it was because of a jurisdictional issue, but I also know that departments will contact outside agencies because it would be improper for an agency to review its own conduct by its own officer sometimes, in some situations, and typically we sometimes consider shootings those types of situations. My question, you may or may not be able to answer it, has the Berkeley Police Department contacted an outside agency other than a coroner to conduct an investigation into the officer's conduct?
I don't have information for you.
You can't answer one way or the other, or?
Correct.
Okay. Then can you answer, and sometimes we have to ask questions and you have to say you can't answer, just so that we've asked the questions and you've said.
I understand.
So the next question is.
Commissioner, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
For purposes of minutes, can I ask the captain to clarify that you cannot answer or you don't have the answer?
I don't have the answer.
Okay.
Okay.
And that was whether any other outside agency other than the coroner is doing an investigation?
I'm not going to answer specifics on this. So,
however,
if you want to read it back or play it back, I'm not answering one way or the other.
I'm just
I
trying
think
to cut it down.
I think it's you won't answer rather than.
Okay.
Which is fine. There was some mention by the chief of police, I think, in my recollection serves me correctly, that the DA had been involved or had been contacted and consulted at the last update on this incident, that there was at least some conversation taking place between the district attorney and the Berkeley Police Department. Can you give us any more information on that conversation?
No.
There was also mention at the last meeting that there may be officers on administrative leave as a result of this incident. Can you tell us more about that? No? We talked about the use of Welfare Institution Code 5150 briefly with Commissioner Duvall, asking you some questions. At this point, you were talking generally, you're not making a comment as to whether or not this person was being detained under 5150.
That's correct. My answers were not related to this incident, but I am trying, where I can, to provide some information in context in a general field.
And just to further clarify, 5150 can only be used if the officer makes a determination that the person is in danger of hurting themselves or someone else.
That's one aspect, yeah. Unable to care for themselves as a result of a psychiatric issue, a danger to others, I believe actually under the influence or as a result of a drug use or intoxication. It is what it is.
I mean, it's black letter law.
Right.
But I just wanted to add that there has to be a danger component. It's not someone's having a mental issue, we can lock them up for 72 hours. If they have to be in danger, or unable to care for themselves.
I feel like the code stands for itself.
Sure.
And I
I
would
was just
say anybody
clarifying.
interested should read the code and.
Clarifying for the benefit of the commission. You said the detective division was conducting the investigation, is that right? Does that include, the detective division, this is just structurally, does that include the homicide division? Is there a homicide division?
I'm not going to comment in terms of specificity. The detective division includes investigators in all variety of crimes, we call it.
Well, this is a general question, not about this incident. When you say detective division, does that include homicide investigator?
That includes homicide, robbery, special victims unit, and so forth.
People around my community in District 7 here in Berkeley that, and this is for as, you know, for as right as this comment is or as wrong as this comment.
Sir, we're District 7, just for clarification.
I'm sorry, District 7. Council members, Worthington.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, as right as this comment might be, or as wrong as it is, as far left or as far right as it might be, there is a sense in at least my part of the community, right, that the police department tends to, especially in heated cases like this one, right, or in other heated cases in the past, right, it tends to withhold information more time than it should for the sole purposes of the community, you know, hushing up a little. For the sole purposes of, and I'm saying, this is a concern that as a community member and as a commissioner is I have to present the community, what the community feels, what the community needs are to you as the police department, right? And I don't know what process the police department has in terms of how often it reviews, reforms its procedures for investigations and whatnot. If there's anything it can do in terms of letting information out, especially in heated issues, and we know what heated issues those are, heated cases those were, right? It might come up in the future, right? That it picks and it sometimes gets a feeling, the community gets a feeling that the police department picks and chooses which cases it wants to release out earlier than others, in terms of information. It's been 2 weeks since this one. I totally understand that investigations, especially, you know, when there's a death involved, lasts a while, right? Way more than 2 weeks for sure, right? And it's gonna, and in 2 weeks from now, when our next PRC meeting is, we might not be done investigating, right? But I think there is a really real concern about the efficiency, about the focus, about the transparency of BPD in terms of how quickly it gets its information released.
I understand the frustration and the concern. It is challenging it's challenging to be in a position where you're aware of facts and that you're not able to release them. And I would actually just leave it at that.
Okay.
We're very aware of that. I'm very aware of that concern. We are aware of that concern.